Hi guys, in this so-called stream, I'd like to add a main menu to the game that we're building with our students at the University of Brighton. And the game looks like this in the current state. So it is a platformer with zombies. And the story goes a thing, you have a bunch of friends, and they get infected, they turn into zombies, you as the protagonist survive, and you need to basically progress through the game and save all your friends. Currently we have the standard main menu provided by the FXGL. That one. I would like to add a custom one, which will also help me see if the API is user-friendly and so on. Because before it can be reused, it first needs to be usable, and that's what I'll try and see if it's good enough. Because it's one thing to develop the engine from sort of the engine side, and it's a completely different thing to actually use it. So essentially I want this, but in a different form, in this looking form. So this is a main menu from Alien Isolation. It's minimalistic, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to use something like this in this game. And it shouldn't be too difficult to implement something similar. So I'm assuming these are the sort of buttons, and you have this thing that indicates which button you're focused on. And let's see how this goes. I don't have any particular goal for this video, but if I can finish the video with something like this, I think that will be a success. Right, so where do I start? And immediately you can see that there's a lot of things that we don't really need. So the API needs to update. It's a main menu, so just hard code that. Right, I don't think I'll be using any of these. Let's go with the background. This is probably width and height. It's not really helpful that... No, I don't need decompilation. It's not really helpful that the Kotlin sources are not included in the Maven jar. It's trying to download something that I don't think it will. Right, so if I create the background with, what about this? No, that's not it, that's the tile set. There must be a background somewhere, textures background, graveyard. Yeah, I think this is what's going to go into the menu background. I think it will be animated. So I don't know what the art team is doing at the moment, so I'll just put that statically, and I won't touch the background itself. That is the easiest part. It's background graveyard PNG. What size is this? 1280 so 720p. Yeah, that works. I don't even need to resize it. I'll just return some empty rectangles, because otherwise we'll probably complain. Just the button. Now I need this in here somewhere. New main menu. Let's see what we have. This should just be a texture that we used. Yeah. And I need these buttons with similar functionality. There is gradient almost like thing at the bottom. I guess this is where the description goes of which button you're focused on. And then there's some helpful sort of input key message saying if you press escape you go back. Yeah, let's try that. So I need to define my button. Probably takes, no, this is the class declaration. Probably needs the name or text, the action, so what happens when the button is pressed. That should be it, because there is no other difference between these. Constructor, and this is going to be a stack pane, maybe. Let's go with stack pane. Get content root. Menu content. What's that one do? Yeah, I need to really rethink the whole architecture of the menu design and so on, because there are just too many roots we got. Well, this is the top level root which we're supposed to touch. Oh, there's also menu root. Yeah, this definitely needs to be cleared up somewhere. These two are fine because this is the top level root, which is managed by FXGL. This is what we're supposed to use. And these ones are probably from some legacy code that I need to get rid of. I'm going to try and use this. Children, new, what do I want? UI factory service, new button. I'm just going to do this and see if this works. I should add a button. Yeah, so the content root works just fine. In which case, my top level thing, so this looks like a vertical box. I'm going to use that. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, okay, so there's quite a bit of space in between 15. And then I need to position the box to translate X 100, translate Y 450, and then we'll figure it out later. And now I need my buttons. Button, play game. I'll do a few buttons and then see how that works. Play game, and then the runnable calls fire new game. Yeah. Oh, so it did download the sources. That was interesting. Cool. We can actually see what I'm doing. So this should fire a new game, which is fine. And then maybe just move these further so I can just put them in the constructor. Play game and button options, and then button quit. I'll do these 3 ones and then we'll see. It's options, and that's quit game. This should fire. Oh yeah, I need to generate the options menu, so this actually won't do anything for now. This fires exit. So I've got my 3 buttons. Now I need to figure out the view for each of the buttons. Well, the view actually looks pretty simple, just a text. I'm going to rename this to name. I should have clicked yes. So I can have my text called text. FXGL, get UI factory service. I'm just going to statically import FXGL. Download sources for this. Okay, yep, that's nice. So what am I working with? Message, that's the name, and then font size. Color white, and font size is, I don't know, let's go with 14 and then we'll see. Get children, add text. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. What I like about this background is that there's a lot of sort of black background towards the bottom left, which is where our items will go. Font size needs to be increased. Alignment needs to be set to center left. And I think it will work. So this, let's go with 16. I don't want too big, because if you look at this thing, it's reasonably small, given, well, relatively speaking, box. It's this box that needs to be set to align to left. Position center left. Why is it not aligning it? Oh, is it because of the stack pane? So this is actually centered in the stack pane itself. Okay, we'll get to that. Set alignment. Position center left. Yeah, that's better, I think. So I need to move it further down, maybe add 2 more things so that we have 2 more placeholders. Okay, so that will fix that. And then I need some kind of a line separator thing with gradient. And then the description, and there's a bit of space then. So button quit. After that, we need line separator. There is a built-in separator in JavaFX. But it's probably just sort of grayish color, and then I suppose we could just draw a line actually and use that as the separator, but this should do for now. And then there's the placeholder text. Placeholder. No, I can actually need text. For description. So there's almost equal amount of space from the bottom to the description and from the left to that thing. So there's also too much space, I think, between buttons. So let's do it 10. Move this thing up a bit. And there's a larger space between the buttons and the line thing to separate them. I wonder if we can just cheat and add new empty text in there, because that will create some spacing. It's 10 before the 10 after, because of the vertical box. That should create some spacing. Yeah. It's always the easy things, easy tricks that work, that do the job. It's really nice. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. And then if we add the thingy on the left, obviously these buttons need to be focusable, which is another thing that I'll need to figure out how to do. Let's do this rectangular looking thing first. Selector, I guess that selects things. New rectangle. I'm actually going to add this thing to each of those things, to each of those buttons. But in each case, apart from the focused one, it's going to be invisible. I wonder if this will work. So 10 and then 20. I think it's shorter, 5. The color is white. And that selector is placed in here. Yeah, let's do that and see. But I'll need to translate it locally to left. It's slightly, the width needs to be adjusted. We make it 17 and the width 7. And I'm going to move the selector, set X, because translate, actually I can do translate because it's local translation. Let's do -15. It needs to be further away. It's probably -25. It's too thick now, so I need to reduce that. Let's go back to 5 actually and see. Maybe it was the height. Let's make it 6 and reduce the height, or adjust the y value. So remove, so translate y 2 pixels up, so translate x 20 and 6 pixels wide. Yeah, so if I just leave this and then only show the thing when the button is focused. Focus property, yeah, seems to be, is focus traversable. Yeah, I think that's what I want. Is it focus traversable? True, because I want these things to be traversable. So that needs to go here somewhere, and then I could just bind the visible property of the selector to focus property. Nice. That was easier than I thought. I can just scroll with tab, because these things are just text. They're not focus traversable. Only the buttons are. That's really nice. Quite pleased with that actually. So I can even use the arrows. That's great, it's brilliant. So I just need to make sure it's highlighted and the other ones aren't, because it seems like they're all highlighted at this point. It's almost like gray looking when it's not highlighted. So the color maybe is not white by default. Let's create some static variables. So color selected color. Let's go with that. When it's selected, it's definitely white. when it's not selected, let's go with gray. And then we'll use the focused property as the selection condition. So if it's focused, then we say it is selected. In which case, the rest is trivial. We just say text, fill property, bind. I'm using lots of bindings here. I'm meant to produce a tutorial on bindings, which I will do. Don't think this is a tutorial on bindings, because it's one long-winded tutorial then. Create bindings. What am I doing? Bindings when focus property, then selected color, otherwise not selected color. Bindings are great. Cool. So I think the font is thicker in this reference UI. So I'll see if I can do that. If I scroll during the, well, this looks like a menu. Doesn't do anything if I press enter. Which actually shouldn't be that difficult either. It's probably set on action, right? No, set on something. On mouse clicked. Well, that's one thing. Set on key pressed. I'm just looking for a built-in one. Set on action, that's for buttons. And because this isn't technically a button as far as JavaFX is concerned, it's probably not here. On key pressed. Yeah, that'll do. If get code is key code enter. Are these reference equality checkable? Well, let's see. Then action run. How about that? Quit game. Nice. So this actually runs, and I can now see if I can exit the game from there. So they are reference. You can check the if they are the same thing, basically. Because it's an enum, yeah, fair enough. Right, so we can play the game now, which is great. I can't go back to the menu, so I have to restart. And what else can we do? Options, nothing happens. The placeholders, quit game, nope. Yeah, I think that is just fine. Yeah, I need to make the font a little bit thicker. Just thinking how I'm going to do that. Text. That actually should go where text is. I can set the stroke. I mean, set stroke to 1.5. That's stroke width. And I can set the stroke to actually the same binding, because that's what we need, right? Stroke property. Should create. No, that's too much. Oh no, just one. It's better. I think it's still too much. Can we do 0.75? Maybe even less than that. 0.5. Is that any different to where we were in the first place? I can't really see, but I'm going to leave it at this. That feels fine. And finally, well, there's description, so I guess I'm going to add description, and then I'll get to this bit. So each button actually needs a description. So here, play game, but does it really need a description? Start new game, let's go with that. Options, adjust in-game options. Exit to desktop. Placeholder, well, these are placeholders, so don't have anything for them. This no longer needs to... so how am I going to change the text in here? Well, when I select something, it needs to know which one was selected. I can still use the focus property, which is, I think, what I'm going to do. I suppose the easiest fix is just to make this non-static, in which case I have access to all of this. And I can say selected button at the start. Obviously the selected button is button play game, and when this changes, I might have to go with custom binding on this one. So let's get a description, text description. First of all, that's what we need. We don't need this anymore. So this goes here, text description, text property, bindings, create string binding. And what is it that we are observing? So this needs to be an object property so that we can observe it. Button. So new simple object property button play game, which is the initial one. Then something returns a string, and the selected button is what we're listening, changes on selected button get text. No, not text. Description, right? Did I not add a field for this? Create a field description. There we go. Yes. And I just need to update this whenever the focus thing becomes selected. I'm going to use the focus property again. So focus property and listener is selected. So if is selected, then we are going to selected button set value this. I will automatically replace whatever button was selected previously. So that will just work, which will cause this thing to be updated, which will cause this thing to recalculate, and it will obtain the new selected button description. Let's go with that. Play game, start new game, adjusting game options. Yeah, I like this. What I don't like is that the line separator keeps changing its length. So I'll need a custom one because I need a gradient. Quit game. Also, this is just too prominent. I need to tone it down a bit. Maybe 14 font size. And color and sort of light gray or something. Yeah, I think that's a bit better, because the focus of the player should be on the buttons, and that shouldn't be that prominent. Okay, exit to desktop, yes. Line separator, right. So this needs to go. It needs to become my own one, which is private. Let's go with static again. Line separator. Extends what? Parent? It's pretty long in this thing. It's almost like 5-6 times longer than the size of the thing. Maybe actually not 5-6 times. 3? 4? Okay, I need a constructor, and I need, what else do I need? This is going to be a rectangle. Rectangles are really easy to work with. So I'm just going to call it line, new rectangle. I know, let's go with 400 and then we'll figure this out. 3 pixels high, and the color I don't know yet. It's going to be a linear gradient. Right, I need help with documentation here. What are these? Start X, start Y. Proportional. So proportional needs to be true, I think. So start X is 0, start Y is 0.5, and it goes to 1, 0.5. And then cycle method is don't, basically. And then I provide new stops. So we start at color white. then go to just halfway through to color gray. Then we finish with almost transparent. And then line set fill gradient. Oh yeah, it's got children. It's not too bad actually. If I adjust the height of that line, in terms of width, I don't really want to make it any longer. It just feels alright. Yeah, so it's just the height. It's got too many pixels in its height. Let's go with 2. Yeah, that feels like a menu with a description in there. Right, last thing. I need that thing in there, and then I'll stop. So how are we doing that? This needs to be positioned somewhere here up top because it's a completely separate thing. So it's a horizontal box, I think. H box. Let's call it V box. It's clearer. There's some space between the word back and the view of the key. 5. And then I need to position this thing. Translate X is get application width minus, I don't know, 150. And the height, or the Y value, it's almost like on the same line as the last bit here. So I know it's 430 plus something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 items multiplied by 20, 30, if we take spacing into account, something like that. Let's just add a few placeholders in there so we can see where it goes. New text, back. And we'll need to add our key view in there. Right, so that's too low. Yeah, why don't I just hard code this, because it'll probably be easier. That's 240, so it was 650, I think. If we go to 550, maybe 580. So it needs the word back in there. This is how the user will navigate back to their menus. And then font size is 14. And then this is where the key view goes. Key view, what does it take? Key code, color, and then size. Key code is escape. I don't actually remember if I implemented escape as a special. color is green, was it? Yeah. And size is, let's go with 14 and see how this looks. Well, escape is kind of small looking. I wonder why it is. It's because of the scaling. That looks weird. Let me just check. Ah, I know why it looks weird, because it's not being handled as a special key. There is no escape here. Right, so that needs to be fixed. Yeah, I can't see escape here, which means it's not being handled as a special key. I'll just replace it with a different key code for now, and then I'll add a to-do for myself to fix this later. Handle escape as a special key for key view. Key E is backspace handled. Oh, that's another key I need to handle as well. The backspace. So E it is then. Yeah, that's what I'm going to use for my back movement, at least for now. Yeah, that looks fine. So I'm just going to reduce the size of that thing to 14. And maybe not as much space in between. Make it 16, make this 15. It's almost like there should be a line baseline center. So move this further down and set alignment. Baseline center. Baseline or maybe bottom center. Yeah, that's a bit better. I still think this needs to be slightly lower, I don't know. Does this look like a menu? I guess I could add mouse interaction, but that's for later. Right, I think this is not too bad. Well, at least until the art team looks at it and then says how it can be improved. Anyway, so I've looked at some stuff, and I don't think I really need to go through it all, because this is not really a tutorial. But there will be a tutorial on JavaFX bindings later on. And if you're still watching this, don't forget to complete the poll on the community section of the channel for future video ideas. and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.